Welcome to Glass Half Full with Leslie Krongold. She shares her stories, experiences, and knowledge of living and coping with a chronic health condition. Learn about tools and resources and hear inspirational interviews that help you to live a life filled with quality and dignity. With 2 decades of support group leadership, Leslie's ready to help you make lemonade out of life's lemons. Are you ready?
Hello. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So in addition to making sure you do your monthly breast exam, if you have breasts, and maybe you do this regularly in the shower, you might want to listen to a few stories from women that have survived breast cancer. There are several earlier episodes with some amazing women, and you can find links to those podcasts on the Glass Half Full website. Earlier this summer, we're no longer in summer. It's 90 degrees here in Northern California in mid-October, so it's hardly autumn. But I digress. This past August, I interviewed Susan Jeremy. In fact, we spoke right before she was heading to the beach. She lives in Brooklyn, New York, and on TikTok, she describes herself as a comic, actress, playwright, and teacher. I wasn't trolling on TikTok for breast cancer survivors. I met Susan many years ago when I went to college in Manhattan and lived in her apartment for about a year. It was my senior year of college. It was a really cool apartment with a sunken living room and a spiral staircase. I have fond memories of making a pit stop there in between classes and my job. In fact, I ushered in my 21st birthday with a party and my first vodka martini. I remember staying up all night building a clay set for an animation project I did. I went to film school. I also remember Susan living in a different world than myself. She was a performer, and I have vivid memories of her coming back to the apartment in between her gigs dressed as Joan Rivers while maintaining her character, which you'll soon get a glimpse of. After I graduated college, I moved to Brooklyn for a year before returning to Florida and eventually moving out to California. I know we saw each other a year or so after my time in New York. I would go back to visit friends every year. But since then, I don't think we've been in the same place at the same time. We connected on Facebook, and I'd see her posts occasionally. But earlier this COVID season, her TikTok videos caught my attention. She is a really good dancer. You can find a sample of her dancing on the Glass Half Full website. In addition to us being housemates, Susan had her own health scare, which caused her to reassess a few things in her life and career. I only remember Joan Rivers. Were you doing?
Yeah, I did Joan Rivers telegrams, and I was also a clown, and I was also a stilt walker.
Oh.
So I used to go to all of the parties in the Hamptons and Westchester on weekends, and I guess I wasn't much of a clown then because I was more into the stilts. They paid more. I worked for the party company.
So, do you realize it was like 37 years ago?
Oh my God. Wow.
I looked at your TikTok. You were talking about dating over 50.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, of course she's over 50. But for some reason, I don't know how I'm 58. You're probably not a hell of a lot.
57.
Oh, so in my mind, there was a bigger age gap. I don't know why.
I know why, because you were in college and I was just a weirdo. I was a street performer and you were in NYU. So, of course, that would appear that you were older and more mature, which is true. You were more mature because I didn't come into my maturity until well into my 30s.
Well, wait,
But
does that equate with sexuality? Is that what you're talking about?
sexuality happened right after you left. I don't know. You must have changed the mood of the apartment. I was straight until I was like 23, and then I was gay.
But I
And then
didn't find out till years later. I mean, almost maybe Facebook. Because
yeah, well, then I started performing as a gay comic, and then I started to go on Olivia cruises, and I started to tour women's festivals, and it was a whole new outlet for me because I was really going nowhere with the stand up in the club circuit. But I didn't do any of the gay comedy until the mid 90s,
wow.
like 95. Yeah, until then I was straight touring comic, working straight. Yeah.
Well, I had no idea. I didn't know I never went on an Olivia cruise. Probably because I don't like cruises.
Right.
But how
I
was it? That must have been amazing.
They were fun. I had to stay medicated because I got seasick often. So I was and if I was taking like Dramamine or Bonine, I couldn't drink. So that was fine. But the second I would go off of the pill to perform, I'd be fine on stage. And as soon as I came off the stage, I would just like vomit. It was like, that's how bad the seasickness, even on a giant ship. But
Wow.
I went to some beautiful places. It was fun. I did it for like 7 years, but they only called me once or twice a year. I did not 7 years. I did seven trips. But as I said, they only called me once or twice a year.
So did you meet anyone on those
I met the performers. They were great.
oh no, I met you don't like a sugar mama.
Uh, no, a sugar mama. Actually, that's right. They were all older than when I was there. No, because I was always in a relationship. I was in a 17-year relationship.
Oh, is that a Brazilian woman?
Yeah, so you do remember that.
Well, no, it's all Facebook. It's what I glean from, posts and everything. I would ask you when you started. I mean, I will ask you. And there's a cat who I can't
I
shut
hear
up.
the cat. Can you just tell me about your health journey right now? Because I'm unaware of it.
I was diagnosed with a neuromuscular disease in my mid-30s, and it turns out it's genetic. My mother had it, and
Wow.
she was diagnosed with it, and like a year and a half later, she had cancer, lung and brain cancer. That's what she died from when she was 50. Yeah.
Wow. And I met her. She was such a vibrant woman.
Oh, you remember her? Wow.
Yeah, she came and she was like, you were a mini her, She came, she had her outfits and her jewelry. I remember. Wow, she died so young.
Yeah, she was 50. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that means that you're doing well,
Yeah,
'cause
no,
you're
she
not
died at 55, and I'm
of
58, right? Yeah.
cancer.
Well, cancer, but she had been an alcoholic, a smoker.
Okay,
So,
so she had all of the risk factors
right.
on it with it.
So that impacted her life.
Right.
And I've been very clean living, and I believe that has enabled me to live a longer life.
Yes.
So, but anyhow, my condition it's progressive, slowly progressive, but it's like ALS, but not as bad.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I'm sorry that you have to endure that, but it seems like you're finding the positive in it.
I am, yeah. So that's a good segue to You told me you wrote a show, you performed a show,
Mhm.
and it was about your not journey, I don't know.
Yes, it was called Teacher in the House.
Okay.
And the reason why it was called that is because my teaching job is to teach students who are homebound, who don't go to school for medical or psychological conditions. And the reason why I started doing this job and left the school system is because I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I wanted to teach children that were going through chemotherapy because I was exposed to a lot of them in the hospital. And that's what I do now, and I still do it now. I've been doing that for 10 years. So 10 years ago, I had breast cancer, and 1 year out of treatment, I left the school system and started to work with kids who were undergoing chemotherapy, and also kids that were having kidney dialysis. But I would say in the last 5 years, I teach 3 or 4 kids per day. In the last 5 years, 80% of my students are undergoing chemotherapy. So if I hadn't had that experience, I probably wouldn't have been able to go there with cheerful, upright, let's get this done attitude, because my last student was 5, and that's really hard to watch a 5-year-old go through all of the side effects of the drugs and stuff. But then this past semester, I had an 18-year-old who was like, kick ass with the leukemia, and he got COVID at the same time, and he was still so positive. He was turning in all his essays, and that he had a big extension on the deadlines, and he passed the whole grade with a 99 average. I mean, how the hell do you do that?
Wow.
It's just so wonderful, that kind of like drive.
Have you been meeting with them virtually?
Well, normally I go to their homes.
Oh,
Sometimes
okay.
before COVID, I would wear masks and gloves if they
Oh,
were, undergoing chemo. But if they were just like recovering from surgeries and things, then it would just be a normal day in their home for 2 hours. March, of course, everybody went remote, and I have no idea what September holds. Because my students are medically challenged, most likely I'll just be teaching remote, which is fine, but we'll figure it out, because it's really, I have other students that aren't medically challenged, so that I don't know how that's going to play out yet, because there's only 48 of us who work in Manhattan for
uh-huh.
the Department of Ed, who go into homes. So we're such a small unit that you don't hear about us in the discussions of, opening schools, because we don't work in schools. So
Wow, so that's an amazing gig. How
yeah, it is an amazing gig. So I wrote a show about that, being a teacher in the house, and it was why I would choose to do that. And then so my cancer diagnosis comes out, and then so I'm simultaneously going through my treatment in the show and going into students, different kinds of houses, different nationalities. And that's where the comedy comes in, because, I had all kinds of families from Eastern Europe to Dominican so each household had its own atmosphere. So what I do in the show is I set up 3 households that I go in on a regular basis, and I go through my cancer treatments simultaneously, so quarantine made me do a lot of ridiculous little videos and characters out of boredom.
Well, the dancing videos are great. I mean,
Yeah. Dancing was exercise, because I usually swim and all the pools have been closed. Now at least I can do the ocean. But yeah,
so that's why you're going to the beach.
right. That's why I was on the beach yesterday talking about dating over 50. Yeah, and so today is actually a brilliant beach day. That's
Oh,
why I wanted us to record a little earlier so I can get my exercise in.
okay. So are you living in Brooklyn or where are you?
In Brooklyn. I'm about 2 miles north of Coney Island, which is a trendy little enclave over here near Park Slope, past Park Slope. It's
That's
Windsor
where
Terrace,
I moved.
Windsor Terrace, Kensington area. You
Yeah.
live? I never knew you lived here.
I was trying to figure out. So I lived in dorms for 2 years, and then I lived in your apartment, and I lived on Jane Street. And I can't remember which was earlier because the Jane Street, the couple threw me out. They were Orthodox Jews, and
I think Jane Street was before my house because I remember you telling me that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for not throwing me out. Thank you for doing the opposite and
Yeah.
driving
And
the
joining the
energy.
team.
Because that's what I do. I go to recruit.
Go and recruit. And you had a party and everybody left that energy in there. And you kept telling me that maybe I was gay. And I kept saying, no, I'm not. And then lo and behold, it only took 2 years.
I never did that, did I?
I don't know.
No, because I don't think I never would have thought.
No, I had a boyfriend and that's in my stand-up. He's a mime. I can't, I lost my virginity to a mime, which is the closest thing to being a lesbian because he was really good with his hands.
So when you were diagnosed, what was your initial reaction?
Well, it wasn't in my family. It was a shock. It was my second mammogram ever. And the whole way it happened was me finding a lump and me trying to convince a doctor to give me an appointment. And I couldn't get an appointment because I had just had a mammogram 2 months earlier and it was clear. I couldn't even get a mammogram. And it was this I couldn't get an appointment or a mammogram because I had just had that 2 months earlier. And everybody my gynecologist was like, oh, you have to go to a clinic. You have to go to a general practitioner to get the lump looked at. And I'm like, this is a lump. We don't have any appointments. So I went to a clinic and they said, you're over 40, it's a cyst, take aspirin.
Wow.
So for 6 months, I let it grow. And then I had to go back to the same clinic and demand a female doctor. This is what happens when the health insurance, I was an artist for so many years and I didn't really have one solid doctor's office. I had a clinic with different doctors. So there was no relationship with one doctor other than the gynecologist who was so popular that you couldn't get in there twice a year. I already had my yearly appointment and that was it. Anyway, but she made amends to me after that and spent 2 hours on the phone with me telling me how to ask for my treatment and what to do. And, she felt horrible. And after that,
coach you to get health care. Isn't that terrible?
No, she wasn't coaching me for health. Yeah, well, she was telling me what to ask for as far as breast reconstruction or chemo or, expanders. Like there were so many different things when you have a mastectomy that you need to know about and women don't know about and I didn't know about. And so if I hadn't asked for those things when I went in for surgery, I wouldn't have gotten those things. You know what I'm saying? They don't offer them to you. They just go in there to do the surgery. They don't tell you that you can have things on the operating table, like, a breast built from a plastic surgeon. I didn't know any of that. So that was very knowledgeable. That was very helpful. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm a performer, I'm visual. So I wasn't going to have a hole in my chest, which I respect women that want to do that, that they don't want anything artificial in their body. I respect all of that. And everybody's treatment is different, but it was wonderful to know. And I'm very happy with everything that I did and I don't regret any of it,
So how did it impact your not career, but just your ability to maintain, a sense of humor, or did that help?
Oh, well, it was the sense of humor. I seem to have been on fire, it was like I kept writing and writing because when you're traumatized, you're paralyzed. And once the trauma lifts, I was just a free flow of let's laugh at life. I'm wide awake. I'm alive. Life, and I started to make like changes. Like the first thing I was going to do, I'm leaving, working in a school that's kind of like a black hole sucking my energy.
Yeah.
And I was in a nice school with a nice staff, but I was being worked to death. And it was just too much. It was overwhelming. There was no time for creation. There was no time for my art. There was no time to write plays. There was no time to do anything. So the first thing I did was get rid of that intensity. And then all of a sudden, I had this day where I would see maybe 2 or 3 kids. And then the rest of the time, I could think about projects that I wanted to work on. And that's what happened. I just kept writing and writing. When I was diagnosed, I had a show that was being cast for the first time. I've never written, I always write the play to do the play, but this time I decided to cast it, and then I was diagnosed. So the whole project went to sleep until I was done with treatment, and then I decided I was going to play all the characters because it's so much easier than touring your your cast around. And plus I perform in Canada so much that it was just going to be really easy to play all the characters. And that was really fun. And so that's the Brazil nuts that you might have seen. And that was married to a Brazilian and a green card wedding and all of this stuff. So I did that, and I wasn't ready to write anything about my cancer treatment yet. And that took another 2 to 3 years before I could write that. I had to be removed from it. As you know, when you're in it, you can't see past it.
Right.
But so my creativity, my life force, if I'm going to do something now, I just do it. I don't talk about it and not do it, And I'm at a place right now where before COVID-19, I was going to retire this year,
Really?
I was going to retire from teaching and not have enough money to live on, but get my career back as an artist, but I can't do any of that because there's no theaters, there's no nothing. And I'm so thankful for my teaching job, but so, I'm setting up different ways of being a teacher now. And I'm trying to do that so that I don't have to be stuck in one place, because the remote is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Cape Cod tomorrow. It's the first week of school, and I'm going to Cape Cod because I could go to meetings and everything on the computer. So, but I do miss performing. I miss the theater. And I was supposed to have 21 shows this summer.
Oh, wow.
And everything was canceled. So I did one backyard show for a very appreciative audience of 30, and they didn't even know who I was. They were neighbors in the North Shore, Long Island, that came out to support my art. It was wonderful. My friend has a house out there.
So how about a show on Zoom?
It's not the same, Leslie. I don't want to do it. I mean, I've done some stand-up on Zoom with some other comics, but it's not the same. I pull the energy from the audience,
Yeah.
and to me, it's a relationship, and you're in that hour together, and what happens is what you've created, audience and performer. And for me to just do it on Zoom, that's why I do the little videos on TikTok, because then I'm just doing it because that's what I always do, put wigs on and talk to myself in the mirror. I might as well just record it.
Well, I'm just like really impressed with your dancing. You got the move.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, my dad was a professional dancer, so I grew up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've got a picture right here. Wait, I grew up with these stories of him.
Wait, we can't.
I know, I'm trying. Isn't that weird? The photograph won't go. How weird. Wow. I can't show the photograph.
No.
So weird. I guess because wait, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so wait.
He's with Buddy Hackett, who is.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Buddy Hackett. Wow.
Yeah, and my dad he ran the shows at the Concord Hotel. He was
the Catskills?
The Catskills. It was really, really big in the 40s, and he was the head choreographer. Yeah.
I
you must have known that.
I don't know, maybe.
All right.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think you've covered all my questions. I'm proud of you, Susan.
Well, thank you, Leslie.
I
I've
mean,
come a long way. I was so broke when I lived with you. But then again, that's what you're supposed to do in your early 20s.
you had a cool apartment. When
My sister, my sister had it up until June. She let it go. 42 years.
oh my God.
She wasn't living there, though. She was just, trying to comply and be there one weekend a month or something. But it was still NYU roommates, and it was still like, it was ridiculous. Like, I would have moved in there. My name is still on the lease, but they wouldn't take dogs, and I've had a dog for 11 years. And that's what my new show is about. My new show is about every survival job that I was fired from. and how like young and ridiculous I was, and how all of that led me to go to school, to go to grad school, and to become a teacher. It's so funny that you thought you were so much older than me, and you were only a year older.
Well, I mean, in reality, how much younger could you be? I mean, we were all young. Yeah.
Right. No, but it makes perfect sense, because I was all over the place, I was like leaving at 3 a.m. I was coming home. I was doing all kinds of weird jobs.
But you were on a lot. I remember I'd be there with, like, I don't know, whoever the person of the week, no. and, and the Joan thing where you...
Yeah. Ow, can we talk? Ow, grow. Ow. Oh, Derek. Oh, she's gorgeous, but dumb. Is she dumb? She forgot her twin sister's birthday. Can we talk? Yeah.
May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace. I know. I was thinking about that the other day. That was just like such this little simple procedure that took her life,
Yeah. Pretty tragic.
Crazy. Well, you stay alert, healthy, and happy. And
yes,
thank you for finding me. Yes, I have no intention of having this cancer ever come back, and if it does, I'm just going to kick its ass again.
Well, you're a survivor,
as we all are.
I really enjoyed our conversation. You can learn more about Susan and her work by visiting the Glass Half Full website. She has a YouTube channel with scenes from her stage performances, as well as several short videos of her dancing and doing different characters on TikTok. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to Glass Half Full. Leslie invites you to leave a rating and review on iTunes. This helps spread the word to others dealing with chronic health issues. For show notes, updates, and more, visit the website glasshalffull.online. Glasshalffull.online.